What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. It's yours truly, Doug Smith. But most truly, I have a very special guest with us here today. Now, in this episode, guys, we're going to take and talk about the Denver Broncos, and who better than to have with us than to my very good friend, local entrepreneur in the Colorado Springs area, has his own business, but he's an expert in talking about the Denver Broncos. Got him on the line with us right now. Everybody welcome Michael Williams. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, it's good to be here with you, bro. I'm super excited to do this, man.
Awesome. Yeah, super happy to have you. Thank you for joining the Touchdown, man. And for everybody who's just now tuning in, Mike Williams, if you could let the good folks know where they can follow you.
Facebook, Mike Williams, Instagram, MWells21. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right, cool. Awesome. So, man, we're going to get right into it. So, for the past couple of years, Mr. John Elway, greatest Denver Broncos quarterback of all time, he's been in a position of authority, for the last, 12, 13 years or so for the Denver Broncos. That being said, he's been on ever since Peyton Manning has left the Broncos, he has been on a bloodthirsty race to find his next great quarterback. And he won't settle. He is going through them. You got 1 year, and that's it. From Trevor Siemian to all these different guys. Joe Flacco had his shot. A lot of guys. Drew Lock, he's been picking up a lot of hype. He had a pretty solid year. They're even saying that he's his guy. What's your opinion on Drew Lock?
Man, it's the first time we've had a quarterback since Peyton Manning that I've been confident about, right? Like, John Elway's been drafting these quarterbacks look like they can play power forward in the NBA. They're not mobile at all, have no swag, Drew Lock, Drew Lock just came off the gate. Looks like he's having fun, man. He looks like he's having fun. He plays. He's commanding the huddle. He has a lot of pop in his arm, and he was definitely a student. Like, I was worried about him coming out of college, his accuracy. He hit above 60% one time in 4 years, but that was not an issue at all. When he actually got on the field, he was, about 63%. With his accuracy, so my biggest concern, he answered right away. So I really do hope he found our quarterback for the future, man.
That's awesome. And, a lot of people don't realize, how important the quarterback position is. You need O-linemen, you need D-linemen, DBs, running backs, receivers. But if you don't have a quarterback, unless you're the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, very hard to win a Super Bowl championship. So,
absolutely, and a good quarterback like that, man. Makes up for the line. Our line's been struggling for years. Drew Lock stepped in, and we had a top 10 rated line as soon as he took over, right? So I think a good quarterback makes everybody around him better, man. And I'm super excited that he's been doing that.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's. I remember at first. I'll be honest with you, I didn't start paying attention. That being said, how's been the reception of Drew Lock, and how we're
playing it, but. The Broncos fan base, bro, has been extremely excited. Like, we have a couple people that are like, hey, let's wait and see because everybody's, Brock Osweiler was good for a few games. But at the same time, you got a majority of people that are optimistic, man, because he just has the tools, Like, you think about arm strength, mobility, accuracy. Dude has power in his arm, and he plays at mile high, so the ball carries, anyway. So people are really excited, man. Like, he got all kinds of nicknames. I'm not going to talk about them on the podcast, but there's a bunch of nicknames that fans here call him that's endearing. So I'm definitely, it's a different buzz, man, for sure.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, one thing I have noticed, the Denver Broncos, usually there's quarterbacks and everything else in the draft. That's what at least from the outside looking in, that's what I've noticed. This draft has been very different. They got the guy locked. They get receivers early on in the draft. Plus, not to mention, you add Melvin Gordon. That being said, now let's be realistic here. So I'm always those guys. Those who don't know, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I always try to be non-biased. So I always ask these questions. Be non-biased now, okay?
Absolutely.
In the division, there's a lot going on in that division. You got the Los Angeles Raiders. You got the LA Chargers. I'm not saying too much, but they're on the rise. They had a pretty good draft this year. Mm-hmm. Then also as well, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, who just so happen to have the best quarterback in the game, and just so happen to win the big one, the Super Bowl. you guys got all these additions. What are the expectations for this year?
I mean, realistically, man, I think it's going to be hard to say, hey, the Broncos are going to come in and win the division, et cetera, when you got a powerhouse in your conference like the Chiefs, right? You have a powerhouse in your division like that. I do feel very comfortable looking at the Broncos schedule this year. We can win 9 or 10 games, and I think we could really sneak into a wild card berth, man. I think that would be great progress from year to year. We were devastated by injury last year, which a lot of teams that happens to, so that's not a good excuse, but our offense is different. We have a great offensive coordinator now, Pat Shermer. Vic's defense always takes big jumps in the second year. We'll have Bradley Chubb back. So I think, man, us winning 10 games, 9-10 games will lock up a wild card berth. I think the Chiefs will probably win like 12 games. If we split this year with the Chiefs, man, I'd be completely happy because they've been dominating us recently, man.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Now, a little bit of a running back controversy. Those who don't remember, back in, there was the old smash and dash of the great Tennessee Titans, back when they had Chris Johnson and Lendale White. Now, before Chris Johnson joined the Titans, going somewhere with this, it was Lendale White's team. But then he had to take in split reps, and what happened is that CJ2K, Chris Johnson, ended up getting 75% of the carries. What do you see happening in that backfield? Do you take in and see that being Melvin Gordon's team? Is that going to be Mr. Lindsey? 50-50? What are you seeing?
Man, and that's a great question. I feel like for me it's hard because like he's been a Charger, so I haven't liked him his entire career. But with that being said, man, something that he does excel at with his size is pass blocking, receiving down. He does phenomenal in that. I think the Broncos will use him more in that role because it's not an opinion. Statistically speaking, rushing-wise, Philip Lindsay is a better running back. Just straight running the ball, getting first downs, explosive plays. He's a better running back from that perspective. But Melvin Gordon is better as a receiving back, third down option. So I'm hoping that, they'll split the carries. But Pat Shermer said there's going to be some plays where they're both on the field. So I think we're going to be really creative with how we use them because that arguably is the best backfield in the NFL right now. I think you have 2 Pro Bowlers on the team. One undrafted rookie as a Pro Bowler. So I feel like it could be a really dangerous backfield if we play them right.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Oh, thank you for breaking that down for me. Now, you guys got some pretty big receivers, actually. You got the guy, young man from Alabama, not Ruggs. It was
Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy, yes, sir. Jerry Jeudy. In my opinion, I think he's better than CeeDee Lamb. That's my opinion. But we got him, and then you got Mr. Hamler from Penn State, I believe it is. How much do you think that they're going to get involved in the game? Especially it's going to be their rookie year. What are the expectations for those guys?
Man, I would immediately expect Jerry Jeudy to step in and start opposite Cortland Sutton, who really took a humongous leap last year. Cortland Sutton made the Pro Bowl second year and just looks like a beast, man. So I think Jerry Jeudy, I agree with you, was the best receiver in this draft. Watching him run routes at Alabama, watching his stuff pro day, man, he's a technician. You've had receivers like Michael Irvin and stuff like that say he's the best. Deion Sanders said he's the best route running receiver he's seen come out in the last 10 years or so. So I feel like he has a reputation as a route runner. That's what we need. We have the red zone guy in Cortland and big play guy in Cortland, but I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be able to move the sticks. And KJ Hamler, man, 4.27 speed. He's 5'9", so he's not a big receiver, but he has about the same speed as Ruggs. The thing that kind of made me nervous with him is he'd have some big plays and he'd have some big drops in college where he'd be open. But I think if we could reel that in a little bit with him, man, he's going to dominate in the spot because no team is going to be able to cover a Noah Fant who set the record for receiving yards as a tight end as a rookie, right? And then Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and if KJ Hamler fixes the drop issues, man, I think we're going to have a really dangerous offense.
That's awesome. Now, we know about all the big names on the team. Anybody in this draft who's perhaps maybe a dark horse or even perhaps someone who is not on anybody's radar to look out for?
I'll give you 2, man. One of them is a popular name here, I know, but I don't think people really realize how tough this guy is. But Lloyd Cushenberry, center from LSU, man, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how he plays this year because if you watched him play all year, LSU was on all the time. They were dominating, obviously. He controlled that line, man. He controlled the whole line. He was the captain, anchor of that line. So we have a big hole now at center with McGovern being gone. So I think he can step in, fill that void. And then another, like, a little bit later round pick that I'm, I don't want to pick like, hey, top 3 picks or whatever, but somebody a little bit later on I'm looking forward to seeing is Justice Gennard, linebacker from Wake Forest. He had a few injury issues coming out, but dude has speed, and what we need is the coverage linebacker. He's 6'3", 240. He's got the speed to kind of keep up with tight ends like a Travis Kelce, who we have in our division, and Hunter Henry, which we have in our division. So I feel like I'm excited to see what he can do. And something that's really cool about this draft class, man, I really legitimately believe everybody we drafted, minus maybe one receiver, Tyree Cleveland, I believe everybody has a good shot to make the roster, and that never really happens, you know?
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for breaking that down there for the fans there. Now, you guys have a new head coach this year. New head coach. What is his style? What is his background? Is it offense? Is it defense? Nick Fangio, I believe it is. What are some of the expectations of his style of coaching to what he's going to bring to the table, and how is that going to? What is that going to do to take and make the Denver Broncos special this year?
So I think something that's great about the staff we have, man, is so Vic Fangio was a defensive coordinator for like 20, 30 years. Last year, first year he kind of took over the Broncos. You kind of started to see some of that imprint on the team. But I think the big leap that's going to happen this year is what you've heard around the league just from players that have played for him, is that his defense takes usually a couple of years. It's a pretty complicated defense for the team to get down. So our defense was a top 7 defense last year, the first year with that. So I feel like, another year under our belt with some of the moves we made, I think we have a good chance to have a top 3 defense, depending on how everybody plays and health permitting. So I think a humongous hire that I think could really put us back in that wild card position there was the Pat Shermer signing. So the Giants fired him. Vic Fangio swooped in and picked him up as the offensive coordinator. And as much as I don't think he was the best head coach, his offenses have done pretty well when he was offensive coordinator. So I think that puts us in a real good position to win this year, man.
Awesome. Thank you for breaking it down for me. Now, that being said, it sounds like he's going to be a major asset to the Denver Broncos, okay? Now, over the last decade, you guys have had a few different coaches and whatnot as far as the head coach position goes. That being said, stepping into a position, he had made a comment recently about something about the movement with it, kind of everything going on. How has that reception been in the locker room? Oh, obviously, people aren't really necessarily at facilities right now, but how has that been received by some of the players on the Broncos?
I think, honestly, man, the team took a really good approach to educate and nip that in the bud so there was no turmoil in the locker room. I think some players called him, Von Miller called him, Kareem Jackson called him, Justin Simmons called him, and just kind of had a good discussion with him to educate him on some of the stuff. He issued a statement a day later, hey, apologizing for it, and the Broncos organized a march with the community, and he was out there with them. So I think people are taking those things goodwill. People don't know sometimes what they don't know until they're exposed to it. They don't know what people are going through sometimes. So I think the Broncos handled it great. The players pulled him aside, talked to him about it. He understood it more, apologized for it, and he was out there with the players at the march, during COVID, which he didn't have to be. So I think that kind of gave fans and some of the locker room a little bit better perspective and better feeling that, he really is, he does have the players back,
Excellent. It's definitely great to hear. Yeah, people don't realize, in these days, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And it's important that we not only humble ourselves for what's going on in the world, especially with obviously COVID's happening, but on top of that, we're having a revolution right now as we speak. So for people to do what Nick Fangio took and did, I think is really, really awesome. And I think at this point we all got to be pro-conversation and talk to one another, and conquer a lot of battles, and stuff.
Absolutely.
Speaking of battles, not much to look at second, third string quarterbacks for the Denver Broncos. Okay, you got Drew Lock. What's the Denver Broncos contingency plan? Are there any free agents who are currently unsigned that you think might potentially be a good fit for the Broncos? Maybe a Kaepernick, maybe someone else. Obviously, we saw Cam Newton get signed recently by the Patriots that some people saw coming. People like myself, I did never in the life of me would have ever seen that. But that being said, what are your thoughts as far as second string quarterback, or is there maybe a gem in the locker room that you don't know about yet?
Man, really, right now what the Broncos did, and he had a phenomenal game against us last year, was Jeff Driscoll was the backup quarterback for the Lions last year, so the Broncos signed him. Now, I don't think he's better than Cap, and the only thing that I think is difficult with that, because I would have loved to see Cap be a good backup quarterback for us. I just think in our locker room, with how John Elway is, and he's made plenty of comments, I don't think he's going to want to create a quarterback controversy when he potentially is on the franchise quarterback, when so many people believe Cap, just like with Cam, deserve to be starters or at least compete for a starting job. So me as a fan would personally love to see Cap be a Denver Bronco, man, because I think he has knowledge. He's taken a team to a Super Bowl. He's been to a couple NFC Championship games. I think he has a wealth of knowledge and experience that he could help Drew Lock out with. I'm doubtful that John Elway will. The only question I have now, man, is because of this whole COVID situation, he's been talking about carrying more quarterbacks on the active roster. So I think that really gives Cap a good shot, man, at getting signed somewhere. And I know out here in Denver, the Denver Broncos would love to have him. Players said they'd love to have him. So I think that's a great option, man. But other than Cap, man, there's a few quarterbacks, man, I think would have been good. I thought honestly, Andy Dalton would have been a really good backup for Drew Lock. The experience he had, but Dallas signed him earlier in the season. That was one I was hoping I knew it would cost some money, but when you have a young quarterback who is budding on becoming a legit franchise passer, having somebody like Andy Dalton behind him could have helped make leaps and bounds. So we'll see, man. I really don't know. I just feel this year is going to be very interesting with how they're doing training camp and stuff. So I think it would make a lot of sense to have a solid second option, and I'm not necessarily confident Jeff Driscoll could do that,
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it should definitely be interesting. And then I also noticed today that the NFL, they canceled the supplementary draft. I think that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. So it's just an opportunity that some teams are able to, double dip in the draft and see what other talent is out there, But none of that this year, so it should be interesting. That being said, kind of moving away from Denver Broncos talk for a second. What do you think is going to happen? COVID-19. We have an epidemic, major one right now. I mean, what do you think the NFL season is going to start on time? I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I honestly, just knowing how the NFL is, man, I've been obviously an avid fan of sports in general since I was a kid. Been a Broncos fan since forever. Seen every Super Bowl the Broncos have won, so that's been pretty sweet. But I'm saying all that to say, I really believe the NFL is going to start, man. They get so much advertising dollars that they would stand to lose so much money by not playing games. I think, I haven't really read or heard that this is going to happen necessarily, but I think they might do half capacity or like maybe a quarter capacity for fans. And if there's something, uptick in outbreaks, they might go to no fans. But I don't really see with the money that they're getting from these TV contracts and, local revenue that they're getting from advertisers, how they're going to completely shut the season down. Because it is a business, man. At the end of the day, they're billionaires, but they still want to make money. So I think that's how they're going to play it, and hopefully there's no stop. But it's a really precarious time, so it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. I listened to the Pat McAfee show. Huge fan of his, by the way. His podcast, and he was saying something that there was some type of potential plan that was under conversation, of course, that they would make sure the fans are still 6 feet apart, but they can't buy seats next to each other, which that's going to be really, really tough. So I say go for the gamut and just open it up, but that's me being selfish, of course. So, I'm not the most edgy, I will admit. Pretty smart when it comes to football stuff there, folks, but when it comes to COVID-19, I don't watch the news much, so sorry, folks. That being said, let's play a little game. Okay. First question here. NFL, this is a made-up scenario, of course. NFL decides, hey, we're going to do what baseball and also the NBA does, and we're going to start a minor league team in Colorado Springs. What do they name that team, and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say probably, I know our mascot would be something like Rocky Mountains, you know what I'm saying? But something for Colorado Springs, man. It's a bunch of nature, man. It's not even like an animal that sticks out here. So I don't even know, man. That's a tough question because it's not really intimidating to have like all the Colorado Springs, Rocky Mountains, you know.
Yeah.
That's a good question, man.
For me, I would take and choose the Bison. I think y'all got some Bison out there. So that would be me. And to those who don't know, so I'm from the crazy state of Florida. I also used to live in the great state of Colorado. So I met the gentleman at, and Colorado's a great state. I love it there. But yeah, I personally would choose the Bison. That would be me. And the colors, I would take in. So the Broncos are orange and navy blue. I would take and have them be green and navy blue. Not random to say, but
yeah,
colors,
I like that.
By.
I like that, man. I like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, next question. What is Mount Rushmore has 4 heads? Okay. What is your Mount Rushmore of Denver Broncos football?
Obviously, you have to start with John Elway, right?
Okay.
So John Elway is going to be first and foremost for me on there. Then I think second, man, you got to go Shannon Sharp, right? Uncle Shay. You see him talking all the time, man. I think that is crucial. Man, this one's kind of a personal bias because I think he's the greatest cornerback to ever play football. But Champ Bailey, I'd have to put on there, man.
Great Florida State. Shouts out to Florida State.
Yeah, man, he went to the wrong school in Florida, but I still appreciate Champ Bailey, man. And then I would say by the time his career is done, Von Miller will be there. But if not Von Miller, Carl Meckenberger. We have a few other options for our fourth position, man. But I think by the time it's all said and done, Von Miller will be one of the best defensive players in Broncos history. So I definitely would toss him up there.
Amen. So, hey, Von Miller's the truth, man. I love watching Von Miller play, man. No play is boring when you're watching him play.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
All right, next question. The final question of the show. Denver Broncos. They're starting a movie about John Elway. Which actor currently right now in Hollywood plays John Elway in the Super Bowl? Go.
Man, I would have to say, this is going to be a little bit unconventional, but I'd have to say Adam Sandler because he's shown that he can play a great quarterback in a movie. He has some experience with that, and some of the CGI stuff they could do, I think he can make it happen, man. But their speech is a little bit similar, and Adam Sandler is a bit of an athlete, it seems like, man. So that would probably be my pick.
I love it. Hey, shout out to Adam Sandler, man. Hashtag Adam Sandler Broncos. We gonna start that here, man. Well, hey, man, Mike, it's been really great having you on the show. Man, fans, thank you so much for tuning in. This guy's a very, very good friend of mine, so I had to take and have him on. He's coming from a place of knowledge and intelligence. He knows the Denver Broncos really unlike anybody. I know quite a few things myself, but not like him. So, Mike, thank you for blessing us with your time, man. Really quickly before you go, do you have any shout-outs at all?
I want to give a shout-out to my wife because, without her, I wouldn't be able to be here. I told her, like, hey, babe, I'm doing an important podcast, the fastest growing sports podcast in the nation. I get to be on today, so I'll make sure kids aren't yelling. So definitely to give a shout-out to her. And it's shout out to God, man. Definitely grateful that we were able to breathe and get to do this stuff, man. And I definitely want to give you a shout out, man, for giving me the opportunity to be on here. And I'm definitely looking forward to maybe hopping on here in the future with you, bro.
Hey, man, that's without being said, man. Hey, you part of the family, so hey, you don't even got to knock on the door, man. Just come on in.
Sounds good, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, God bless you. Folks, that's another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Make sure you go down to the bottom of that screen. Little red button says subscribe. Hit that button. Hit the like button. Share with a friend. Hit that alert button. Drop a comment. Hey, if you agree with Mike, let us know. If you disagree with Mike, let us know. Hey, that's what the Touchdown with Doug Smith is all about. So, football discussion. Anywho, everybody have a blessed day. Wash your hands. Keep 6 feet. Have a good night. Peace.